Hi, welcome back to the Coin Studio. Some Australian florins are now worth thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars. One sold for over $35,000. These are the top 10 most valuable Australian florins you should know about. You might have one sitting in your drawer right now. Let's moving on. First up, 1951 Federation Florin, Commemorative. The 1951 Federation Florin holds a unique place in Australian numismatic history. Issued to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the Federation of Australia, this coin stands out not only because of its symbolic importance, but also due to its intricate design and relative scarcity and high-grade condition. The obverse features the familiar portrait of King George VI, while the reverse showcases a beautifully detailed depiction of the Australian coat of arms, modified with a special commemorative inscription that reads 1901-1951 to mark the half-century milestone of unification. Though over 2 million of these coins were minted, most circulated heavily, making pristine, uncirculated examples significantly harder to find today. The coin is often sought after by both novice collectors and seasoned investors who value commemorative issues. In circulated condition, it typically fetches around $150 to $300, but in mint state uncirculated grades, particularly MS64 or higher, the value can range from $12,000 to as high as $13,000, depending on luster and strike quality. The Federation Florin remains a compelling addition to any collection for its patriotic legacy, detailed artistry, and rising collectability. Number 9.
42's Florin, San Francisco Mint.
The 1942 Florin is a fascinating and somewhat mysterious chapter in Australian coinage. Produced at the San Francisco Mint in the United States during World War II, this coin was part of a strategic effort to maintain coin supply during wartime disruptions. Unlike other Australian florins of the era, the 1942S can be identified by the tiny S mint mark, located beneath the coat of arms on the reverse. This small detail holds significant weight among collectors, as coins minted in San Francisco are relatively scarce compared to those produced in Melbourne or Sydney. Another interesting aspect is the coin's slightly different finish and strike characteristics. Influenced by American minting technology of the time, collectors often hunt for sharply struck examples with full details and minimal wear. In average circulated condition, the 1942S florin usually commands prices between $300 and $500, but examples in extremely fine to almost uncirculated condition can jump to $10,000, $11,000. Top-tier coins graded MS64 and above by professional grading services can easily surpass $14,000, especially when they exhibit exceptional eye appeal. The 1942 florin is a highly prized coin for its wartime backstory, low mintage relative to demand, and trans-Pacific origin that sets it apart from other Commonwealth coinage. Number 8. The 1936 florin is more than just a pre-decimal silver coin. It's a historical memento from the twilight of King George V's reign. This year marked the last full year of his rule, and as such, the coin holds an added layer of sentiment and historic gravitas. The obverse bears the mature portrait of the king, while the reverse continues with the traditional Australian coat of arms. What makes the 1936 florin particularly attractive to collectors is the quality of its silver content, 92.5% sterling, and its place in an era when mintage numbers began to decline due to the looming effects of the Great Depression. With only around 4.7 million minted, many were used extensively in circulation, and finding high-grade examples is no small feat. In lower circulated grades, the 1936 florin typically sells for around $200 to $400. However, coins in higher grades like extremely fine, EF, can bring in $8,000 to $8,500, and those in pristine mint state conditions can command as much as $9,300 or more, depending on toning and strike sharpness. This florin has retained a steady collector base over the decades, not just for its silver value, but for the charm and legacy of a king who presided over a transforming world. Number 7. The 1932 florin is one of the true elite coins in the Australian florin series and is considered a semi-key date by many collectors. Minted during the depths of the Great Depression, the coin had a very limited production run, with just over 188,000 struck, a staggeringly low number compared to other years. Because of its rarity and the harsh economic times during which it circulated, very few have survived in top condition. The obverse displays the familiar image of King George V, while the reverse features the enduring national coat of arms design. The 1932 florin is notorious among collectors for being extremely difficult to obtain in grades above fine. In well-circulated condition, prices can start around $300 and easily move up to $600 for coins in very fine VF or extremely fine EF grades. Uncirculated examples, if found, are considered treasures and often sell for $2,500 to $15,000, depending on grading and eye appeal. Some exceptional pieces have sold for even more at auction, especially if they are slabbed and graded by PCGS or NGC. The 1932 Florin is a must-have for any serious Australian pre-decimal collection, as it perfectly blends scarcity, silver content, historical context, and desirability into one striking piece of coinage history. Number 6. The 1921 Florin is a compelling piece from the early post-World War I era, when Australia was still finding its economic footing, following the Great War. Struck during the reign of King George V, this coin features his crowned effigy on the obverse, while the reverse bears the original Australian coat of arms, complete with the kangaroo and emu supporting the shield, topped with a star above and ornate scrollwork below. What makes the 1921 Florin notable is not only its classic design and 92.5% sterling silver composition, but also its relatively low survival rate and premium grades. With a mintage of just under 2 million, most were used heavily in daily commerce and show considerable wear. In circulated condition, prices for this coin generally hover between $250 and $500, but as the grade improves to very fine or extremely fine, values climb to around $13,000, $14,200 in choice. Uncirculated condition, a 1921 Florin can reach values of $16,000 or more, depending on strike quality and luster. The rarity of high-grade examples, combined with its role in Australia's economic history of the 1920s, has made the 1921 Florin a desirable acquisition for serious collectors seeking to complete their George V Florin sets. Number 5. Series 7 Canberra Parliament House Florin, a coin that truly stands apart in Australia's numismatic narrative. The 1927 Canberra Parliament House Florin was the first commemorative florin issued in the country's history. Released to mark the official opening of Parliament House in Canberra, this coin introduced a fresh, bold design that broke away from the standard coat of arms motif seen on earlier florins. The reverse features an elegant depiction of the original Parliament House building with radiating sunbeams in the background, along with the inscription, Parliament House Australia 1927. The obverse shows the left-facing bust of King George V. What's fascinating is that although over 2 million coins were struck, a large portion were distributed in souvenir cases, meaning many were preserved in much better condition than typical florins of the time. As a result, collectors often seek high-grade examples, and they're relatively more available than many other pre-1940 florins. In circulated condition, values range from $200 to $400. However, specimens in original cases or those graded MS63 and above can command $1,500 to $4,000 or more. Some near-flawless gems in MS65 or higher have achieved prices well over $16,000 at auction. The 1927 Parliament House Florin remains a symbol of national pride and architectural celebration, often serving as a cornerstone coin for thematic collections, centered on Australian milestones. Number 4. The 1910 Edward VII Florin is a coin of tremendous historical significance. It marks the very first florin issued under the new Australian Commonwealth. Following Federation in 1901, this was also the only Australian florin ever issued bearing the portrait of King Edward VII, as he passed away in May of that same year, making this a one-year-only type. The obverse displays his dignified right-facing portrait, while the reverse features a beautifully detailed version of the coat of arms of the Commonwealth of Australia, surrounded by a wreath in the denomination. This coin is particularly important because it represents the transition from colonial coinage to a unified national currency, making it a foundational piece for any serious Australian coin collection. The 1910 florin was struck in sterling silver and had a modest mintage of around 2 million coins. However, due to its age and heavy circulation, finding examples in well-preserved condition is quite challenging. In lower grades such as good to fine, the coin usually sells for $800 to $1,500. In very fine to extremely fine condition, prices escalate to $3,000 or more. Mint state coins, especially those graded by third-party services, can fetch between $1,700 and $1,800 depending on quality, rarity of strike, and eye appeal. The 1910 florin is a rare opportunity to own the very genesis of Australia's own decimal coinage, heritage, an artifact not just of monetary value, but of national transformation and enduring legacy. Number 3. The 1915H florin is one of the most elusive and coveted pieces in the entire Australian pre-decimal florin series. Struck at the Heaton Mint in Birmingham, England, the coin is distinguished by the small H mint mark below the date on the reverse. What makes this florin especially significant is its extremely low mintage. Just 220,000 pieces were produced, the lowest of any George V florin. Issued during World War I, the coin's limited production was likely influenced by wartime, metal shortages, and economic constraints. The obverse features the crowned effigy of King George V, while the reverse retains the classic Australian coat of arms design. Due to its scarcity and age, the 1915H florin is rarely seen in the open market, especially in high-grade condition. Circulated specimens in fine to very fine grades typically command prices from $700 to $1,200, while extremely fine examples can fetch $6,000 or more. Mint state coins are incredibly rare and often exceed $12,000 at auction, with the finest known pieces reaching up to $2,000 or higher depending on strike sharpness, eye appeal, and third-party grading. The 1915H florin is not just a coin, it's a prize for elite collectors, an emblem of wartime resilience, and one of the rarest crown-sized coins in Australian history. Number 2. Closely related to the 1915H, the 1940 florin is another numismatic gem minted at the Heaton Mint during the early years of World War I. Bearing the same distinctive H mint mark beneath the date, this coin had a slightly larger mintage, around 80,000 pieces, but remains extremely rare and highly sought after, especially in well-preserved condition. The coin features the left-facing portrait of King George V on the obverse, while the reverse showcases the traditional Australian coat of arms, with the kangaroo and emu. The historical significance of this coin lies in its context. Produced during the outbreak of World War I, it's a tangible relic of a world in turmoil. Despite having more than double the mintage of the 1915H, the 1914H has a similarly low survival rate in top condition due to heavy use in circulation. In lower circulated grades, the 1914H florin can sell for $500 to $900. Very fine to extremely fine. Examples are valued between $15,000 and $25,000. In mint state, prices skyrocket to $3,000 and beyond, especially when the coin exhibits strong strike details and a lack of major surface marks. As with its 1915 counterpart, the 1914H florin is a crown jewel in Australian numismatics, cherished not just for its scarcity, but also for the dramatic historical period it represents. Number 1. 35 Melbourne Centenary Florin. Topping the list as the most valuable and celebrated Australian florin is the 1934-35 Melbourne Centenary Florin, a stunning commemorative coin that blends history, artistry, and extreme rarity into one iconic piece. Issued to mark the 100th anniversary of the founding of Melbourne, this florin is unique in design and production. The reverse features a graceful representation of a rider on a horse, believed to symbolize both exploration and colonial progress, while the obverse showcases the crowned portrait of King George V, with a total mintage of just 75,000 coins. It remains one of the lowest mintage florins ever produced in Australia, and a substantial portion of those were melted down due to unsold stock. That makes surviving specimens even rarer and more valuable. This coin was not intended for general circulation and was instead sold to the public as a commemorative piece, often preserved with care. However, pristine examples are still hard to come by. In circulated grades, the Melbourne Centenary florin can sell for $1,000 to $2,000. Lightly circulated or about uncirculated pieces are worth $13,000 to $15,000, while coins graded MS64 or higher regularly achieve $18,000 to $19,000 at auction. Exceptional specimens in top tier slabs with strong eye appeal have even broken the $35,000 mark. The 1934-35 Melbourne Centenary Florin is not only the pinnacle of Australian florin collecting, it's a national treasure, a symbol of early Australian heritage and minting excellence. It is the ultimate prize for collectors who seek the finest and rarest coins in the Commonwealth series. Thanks for watching.